Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk on Win TV. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes, and I'm the proud publisher of the Washington Informer. And I'm thrilled to have you with us this week. Looks like we got a new introduction. At least it looked new to me, and that's exciting. I always like new things. Particularly if it really kind of helps people to understand the content and quality of the programming that we want to bring to you each and every week. As we step into April, we're shining a spotlight on Earth Day and Sustainability Month. And the theme this year, in which we are embracing our planet, our power. So make sure that you tune in to some programming that we'll be having later on in the month regarding Earth Day and sustainability, which is April 22nd. And as you know, the Washington Informer is deeply invested in making sure that we tell our story about our role, our commitment to protecting our planet. And it's also time to raise awareness for autism and to delve into the importance of financial literacy. Today, we are excited to welcome some incredible guests. First up, we have former Maryland governor and former commissioner of the Social Security Administration, Martin O'Malley, who will share his insights on a vital topic of Social Security, something I'm interested in knowing more about as we look at the threats to this institution, and something I think you all will want to know more about as well. And then joining us also is OBGYN Dr. Ebony January, who will discuss the Empowered Motherhood Press Tour in honor of the upcoming Maternal Health Week, an initiative also close to our hearts. And we're thrilled to welcome Lachelle Shelley Williams Franklin, the CEO of the Williams Franklin Foundation, who will be here to tell us about their upcoming Sipping for Success event taking place next week. And finally, Washington Informer fellow Jada Ingleton will be talking to War and Treaty. You know, they've been talking a lot about diabetes and health and what have you, but I understand they have a show coming up next weekend. And so Jada will delve into that with them and give us some more insights. So before I turn the program over, we want to this inspiring hour that we have ahead. I hope you've picked up a current issue of the Washington Informer. And if you didn't get a chance to pick it up, you know, you can get the digital edition online at washingtoninformer.com. They show the digital edition. I like to show the print edition because, you know, it's really important, as you all know, to know that print is not dead. Maybe a slow death, but we're still here and we want to make sure that you can get the paper. And if you're interested in knowing where to get the paper, the printed copy, you can visit us online. Sounds interesting. Sounds like a really crazy thing here. We get a print edition, but I'm telling you to go online. But you can go online to washingtoninformer.com. And don't forget to follow us on our favorite social media platforms to engage with us and keep up with the latest developments. We hope you will consider becoming a subscriber to the Informer. So when you go to the website, there's a little box there, and all we ask is for your email address. So if you put that in there, we will be sending you the newspaper and other information that we think is important to your day-to-day life, including upcoming episodes of Let's Talk and the kind of insightful conversations that we're having today. We want you to join the Washington Informer family and receive our publication directly in your inbox, along, as I said, with other daily news updates. And as you tune in today's show, please help us spread the word by sharing this broadcast on your social media channels. Before we jump into our conversations, as I said before, I have one more thing I wanted to add. And I just want to say thank you. We're going to show some highlights later on the show. But thank you once again to all of the sponsors, the honorees, the guests, everyone who supported us in our 60th anniversary celebration that took place last Friday at the Martin Luther King Memorial Library. It was a fantastic event, if I may say so myself. And if you haven't, I want you to make sure you pick up this special issue of the Washington Informer, our 60th anniversary special issue. It was in an insert in last week's paper, but if you're interested in getting a copy, reach out to us at news at washingtoninformer.com. We want to make sure that you get a chance to see all the fascinating stories that the team pulled together. They did, the staff, and should have said thank you to them at the top, because they did a fantastic job in making sure that this event was a success. And again, you can read about the honorees and the legacy of the newspaper. There's so much here. There's so much here that you want to get if you can pick up a copy of this and learn more about what we do to make sure that we can tell our story, your story in the Washington Informer. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But right now, let's jump into our weekly news broadcast with Curtis Knowles.
This is Win TV News, bringing you the news that matters. The Prince George's Stadium in Bowie, Maryland is getting its biggest refurbishment since its opening in the mid-90s. A ceremonial groundbreaking was held on Thursday morning to celebrate the new project, which aims to turn the stadium into a year-round venue and provide one of the best minor league training facilities in professional baseball. It's a roughly $50 million project, with funding coming from the Maryland Stadium Authority, the Maryland National Capital Parks and Planning Commission, as well as the parent company that owns the Baysox. On top of one clubhouse will be a group of indoor batting cages, and on top of another will be a 1,400 square foot indoor sports facility. PG County Executive Tara Jackson commented saying, quote, "The improvements to the stadium are going to benefit us from an economic development standpoint and just bring more people out of the country to Bowie. We see it as a premier spot for families to come and enjoy baseball as well as each other." The D.C. Council passed emergency legislation Tuesday that changes the city's open meeting laws to allow private meetings in certain situations. Critics of the measure are pouncing on the change, saying it would dramatically modify the way the city operates, but city officials insist it's needed. Under this new law, council members will be allowed to have private meetings without the required 2 days of notice to the public, as long as the meeting is to discuss a possible terrorist threat, public health threat, or to meet with the mayor. During those meetings, no votes or official actions can be taken. And the council passed the emergency legislation 10-2, and once signed by Mayor Bowser, the law will be enacted for 90 days, during which the council will consider what changes it wants in a permanent bill. It will hold a public hearing April 22nd to discuss the matter further. Senator Cory Booker made history Tuesday with a 25-hour and 5-minute filibuster, surpassing the previous record set in 1957 by segregationist Senator Strom Thurmond. While Thurmond took the floor for 24 hours and 18 minutes to block the landmark Civil Rights Act, Booker used his time to stand against what he called a dangerous dismantling of government by Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and congressional Republicans. He commented saying, quote, "This is a moral moment, and that it is not a matter of left or right, but of right and wrong."
Well, welcome back. And thank you so very much, Curtis, for that news broadcast. And it is my pleasure, can't get it out, my pleasure to bring on as our first guest the former governor of Maryland and the former U.S. Social Security Commissioner, Martin O'Malley. Welcome to Let's Talk.
Great to be with you, Denise.
Thank you, thank you. And before we get into the topic, what do you think about that 25-hour speech that was given on the House Senate floor by Senator Cory Booker?
Yeah, it was awesome. We all need to stand up, and I think Cory Booker gave people a lot of hope, because as we've watched our members of Congress kind of I don't know what the word is, kind of reeling from this onslaught of every day flooding the zone with all sorts of things that this administration is doing, illegal, unconstitutional, untoward, cruel-hearted. You name the adjective, there's a lot. And so I think the public's had a hard time seeing any sort of focusing on a moment of opposition. They thought one was coming with the shutdown of the government and that sort of duel. But when they saw Senator Booker do that for 25 hours, I think it resonated when the words that he said, look, none of us can do everything, but each of us can do something. And that's what it takes. There's going to be all over the country this Saturday, a national day of action, 800 different events happening all over the United States to protect Social Security, Medicare, and other institutions of the republic that this Doge team, the unelected co-president Elon Musk and Donald Trump, are trying to dismantle. So I myself will be at the rally site here at the headquarters of Social Security in Baltimore, Maryland, land of the free, home of the brave. But there's 800 events happening all over the country. And that's what we need to do. The only thing that can save us right now until the next election, if we're allowed to have one of those again, is really the democracy rising up. Democrats and Republicans alike, 80% of us believe that Social Security should be strengthened and made better, not destroyed and dismantled. And that's what they're trying to do to it right now.
So you sounded like you were getting ready to quote my dad. The only thing we can do, or the only people who can save us for us is us,
That's
was
right.
a term that he used to use a lot. And as a former administrator of Social Security, I'm in that age group, Mr. O'Malley, where a lot of us are now finally getting our Social Security benefits. Speaking of my dad, he used to always say, especially when it came to Black men, that they never lived old enough to get Social Security.
Mm.
He finally made that age. He died at age 67. But now there's this constant threat. Where are we? Tell us the reality, or give us a reality check of what's happening with Social
Yep.
Security right now.
Well, let me try to encapsulate it because there's a lot just in your intro. I was in Pine Ridge Indian Reservation as the Commissioner of Social Security a few months ago. And a woman at the tribal consult that we were having there said, "Do you know what the life expectancy is for men on Pine Ridge?" And I said, "Yes, 42. It was 42 in 1968 when Bobby Kennedy visited Pine Ridge. So it is true that there are, if you're lucky enough, if you've earned the benefit of Social Security and you live to 62, we've made a promise across the generations that it's going to be there for you. But that promise is very much threatened right now. There are two things that people frequently hear about Social Security. One is that if Congress doesn't make an adjustment by 2035, Social Security is going to go bankrupt and insolvent. That's not true. It wasn't true before Elon Musk and Donald Trump started telling even bigger lies about it. But what is true is that periodically Social Security, with its 75-year forecast, Congress has to make an adjustment to make sure that it's there as the demographics change. And right now, the baby boomer bubble that's coming through is one of those changes they anticipated in 1982. And so they built up a big surplus reserve of $2.7 trillion. I'll come back to that in a second. Okay. It is from that reserve that periodically the difference between what people pay in a given year and what Social Security pays out, it's from that reserve that difference is taken. So last year, Denise, Americans that are working in the economy paid in 1.3 trillion, and that immediately went out to pay 1.4 trillion in benefits, with the difference taken from that built up surplus reserve. But what we're talking about here, and what's the real present and danger to Social Security right now, is not that slow diminishment of that reserve and how we, bolster it for another 75 years. That too is a solvable problem. But right now what's happening is that Elon Musk and Doge, at a very vulnerable time in this agency's history, when its staffing has already been reduced to a 50-year low, while baby boomers of my generation swell their ranks to an all-time high, Elon Musk and his Doge team, with their chainsaw, have been gutting this agency in a merciless, cruel, brutal way. And they are driving people out of the agency. These folks that hung in there because they believe in the mission of care and compassion for one another, taking care of people in their golden years, as well as people, if God forbid, they become disabled and can't work. But they are actually, with our money, paying people across the country in Social Security offices to leave right now and don't let the door hit your backside on your way out. It is an appalling waste of money. Some people that are already retirement eligible, they'll say, get out right now and we'll pay you for the whole rest of the year. So this is doing a number of things to the agency very, very quickly. And this is what I shared with Congress, with Hakeem Jeffries and the Steering and Policy Committee earlier this week. Because of the largest reduction in staff that this agency has ever suffered in such a short period of time. You're going to see several things happen on its way to total system collapse and an interruption of benefits. One, you're
Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. I think no, I was going to ask. I think because one, we've talked about the closing of Social Security offices. Now we're talking about how people will have to certify, I guess, that that they're actually eligible for. What are some of the things that everyday folks are really going to? I mean,
Yeah, it's
we feel for the loss of jobs, but then people don't really talk about that until it hits them.
right.
What's going to hit those Social Security eligible folks out there that makes them say, "Oh, he was right."
Yeah, in the interruption of benefits. So this is an agency that is all people serving people, of the people, by the people, for the people, and it's enabled by an IT system. Think of it like a big insurance company that pays out monthly benefits to 73 million people, including some of the poorest of the poor in the United States of America who are on SSI. So what people, so it's not just about the jobs, and my heart goes out to those folks that hung in there. You know, Denise, they didn't miss a single beat all through COVID,
Yeah,
even
right.
with the
You're right.
evacuation. They kept the checks going out. So this is what the public is going to see. But when President Biden asked me to go there, it wasn't because the agency was doing well. It was because of after 10 years of staffing reductions imposed by House Republicans, their staffing was at a 50-year low, and therefore every service delivery, whether it was when you apply for your retirement, the wait time that takes, time to get an appointment, time to get an initial disability determination, time to have an SSI redetermination, any time to change your direct deposit account if somebody hacks it and steals it. All of those things were taking longer and longer and longer and longer because there were fewer and fewer and fewer people, and Congress wasn't investing in the IT systems. Well, now they've taken a sledgehammer to this camel's back. We got all of those things moving in a better direction by the end of President Biden's term, some of them the best they've been in 10 years. But now what you're seeing is this mass exodus of employees all of a sudden means that all of those wait times are spiking. Now you're seeing, just today, I got a call saying the entire system for SSI went totally out, total outage on any ability to process SSI claims. And that's a dynamic system. How much people earn in any given year, not going over the maximum amount, which can send you off a cliff. So people are going to see those wait times continue to skyrocket. They're going to see outages, interruptions that happen more frequently and for a longer duration. And ultimately, all of that will cascade into a total system collapse, I believe, within the next 60 days that will lead to the interruption of benefits for the first time in 90 years. And
So
so that's what people are going to see.
what is it? What is it? And I think we all sat there in shock with our, our mouths dropped open when Elon Musk made the statement that Social Security is one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in America, and that there are these people who are 100, 200 years old that are still getting Social Security benefits. Can you set the record straight on that?
Yeah, there's a lot of big lies told, and why the reason they're telling these lies is to turn the public against Social Security and undermine the trust that people should rightly have in Social Security. So there is no zombie apocalypse. Totally not true. When we thought we had knocked him into the laughing corner on the assertion that there are people 150 years old because the Doge kids were reading the wrong field in the computers that they didn't have any right to be in. We thought that was the end of that big lie, but then Donald Trump, 3 days later in the State of the Union, said, no, there's not only tens of millions of people that are 150 years old, some of them are 300 years old, which means, Denise, they would have been here for the founding of Jamestown. Totally untrue. There is no zombie apocalypse. Social Security is automatically notified by the vital records in every state in America and the territories. Whenever there's a death certificate, that automatically goes to Social Security. Additionally, if somebody's over the age of 70 and they stop billing Medicare, boom, that automatically gets a flag on it, and Social Security is notified. Not to mention millions of us every year who call Social Security when a loved one dies and lets Social Security know, because Americans are mostly honest. So that's not true. The other thing that's not true is it is not a pyramid scheme or a Ponzi scheme. And if it were, it wouldn't have existed for 90 years, because those things tend to collapse as swindle schemes will. Now, this is a pay-as-you-go system. Money's paid in every year. That money goes out in the same year. and we calculate all of your earnings throughout your lifetime to make sure your benefit is the one you've paid in to earn at the time you retire. So it is a pay-as-you-go system. Every year, it gets the top sterling audit. This year's auditors are Ernst & Young. They rotate their auditors every 3 or 4 years. It was Grant Thornton. Now it's Ernst & Young. And unlike the Defense Department, Ernst & Young looks at Social Security and says, yes, you're doing a good job. You all count money very, very well. And in fact, you have an error rate that is less than 1%. So all of that stuff and turning off ways that we had created for people to do their business, like address changes or other things online, is all about degrading the customer service to sour enough of the public against the agency. So that's why they're cramming field offices. That's why they're making it harder for you to get your business done. And all of it is about wrecking the agency so then they can rob it. They can't rob it until they wreck it. And they have to wreck it to turn enough of the public against it so that then when they, having created an emergency of their own making by breaking the agency, they say, oh, it's an emergency. We've got to take that 2.7 trillion in the trust fund. We'll give you all a little bit of lump sum so you can adjust. But you know, it was always going bankrupt. It was always fraudulent and it never worked. So that's their game. And we have to wake up the democracy because there's a burglar with a chainsaw coming through the window in the middle of the night. Turn on your lights, wake the neighbors, call 911.
So, in your opinion, like you said, Mr. O'Malley, you'll be out on Saturday with thousands of people across the country who'll be expressing their frustration, concern, and anger about what's happening. What else can people do? What should American workers do to protect Social Security?
Yeah, what they should. There is nothing more important than calling your congresspeople right now, whether you're whether you vote for them or not. You might live in an area that's represented by a Republican member of Congress, 2 Republican senators. All the better, because they need to see that the interest in this issue is continuing to rise. In a private meeting, there was an article in a magazine that covers the Hill, and the headline of that was, Republican senators behind closed doors want Elon Musk to shut up about Social Security. So the most important thing we can do is to send the message to members of Congress every week that you want them to stand up and stop Elon Musk from stealing your Social Security benefit. You've earned it, it's yours, and you want your senators and Congress people to stand up. The other really important thing you can do is to be engaged online with your neighbors that you talk to on Facebook. I know for some of us it's hard because, sometimes talking about politics, you're always surprised when you find, oh my gosh, I thought I knew that man or woman. I can't believe they're for Donald Trump. But you need to be engaged on this issue. 80% of people, regardless of their party affiliation, want Social Security to be made stronger. So be engaged online and knock down those false claims that are being made about Social Security. I'm ramping up my efforts. Hopefully soon here, I'll have a website that goes through the refutation, the facts, the truth that allows people to combat those big lies. But engage with your neighbors. Let them know this is a real threat. This is not a scare tactic here. They are driving this agency right into a ditch. They want to drive it into a customer service collapse. They need to wreck it so they can rob it. And in the meantime, they want to turn people against it by kneecapping its ability to serve the public. So be engaged, call your members of Congress, and talk to your neighbors and encourage them to call their members of Congress to tell them to stop the steal of your Social Security benefits. You earned it. You need it. It's yours.
As a former administrator, and you were there for what, a year, 2?
I was there for a year, and it was a remarkable turnaround year. I was so proud of what those men and women did in making things better, even after 10 years of staffing reductions.
And that was the question I was going to ask when you talk about making things better, because none of our systems are probably running 100%, but we still need them, right? So what initiative did you bring into the fore to make it better? And what do you think, if we were to fix Social Security, there could be a focus on that as opposed to destroying the institution?
Yeah, well, this could be a whole another interview. There was a great article by Eric Wagner, Eric with an H, Wagner, when I left the agency, that talked about the things we did. In essence, Denise, we applied a system of performance management and a regular cadence of collaboration that focused on the outputs rather than the inputs. A lot of times when we talk about government, we talk about annual budget inputs, but we brought people together in a collaborative way every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks to focus on our 8 biggest problems. The time it takes for initial disability determination, the time it took to answer the phone on the 1-800 number. We got that speed to answer down from 42 minutes at the beginning of the year down to 12.4 minutes by the time October came around. And it was no one thing. It was 100 different actions on the front end, on the back end, that each of the components of that agency took in a regular every 2-week cadence. One of the things that we got down was at the beginning of the year, it took 405 days for an administrative law judge decision. If you appeal your disability ruling, took 405 days at the beginning of the year, but we got that down to 280 days. That was the first time that had been accomplished in 25 years. The percentage of people that had their retirements effectuated within the 2-week period of time after applying, we got that up to 87% within 2 weeks. And that's the first time they'd achieved that in 10 years. So these are some of the things we did. You ask, what is the major fix that Congress could apply? It's to let this agency operate, again, at a 1.2% overhead, which they did for decades until about 10 years ago, when House Republicans started ratcheting down. And so now they're trying to operate on about 0.7% overhead. So if you compare the overhead that they used to be able to be allowed to operate, and by the way, it's the dollars you and I paid in that they're allowed to use so people can access their benefits. For decades, it was 1.2%. That makes them the most efficient insurance company in the world. If you compare it to private insurance companies, Allstate operates at 19% overhead. Social Security, 1.2%. Liberty Mutual operates at 23% overhead. Liberty Biberty, 23% overhead compared to Social Security at 1.2. So if Congress would just allow them to operate at an adequate level of staffing to serve the people that call on the phone and come in, that would be one big piece. The other thing that Congress could do is put an adequate number, puts in some money for IT modernization. It wouldn't break the bank. Just let them do it. We're not on these taping together these old systems and making them run because they're stupid or because they're old-fashioned. Far from it. They haven't been able to update and modernize because every year Congress makes them absorb another $600 million in cuts. And how do they absorb that? In an agency that's all staffing and systems, they do that by letting the Grim Reaper wipe out enough staff positions through attrition and retirement. And they do that by postponing modernization efforts that they knew that they could and that they should. So those are the two ways. It's a solvable problem, just
So
like from financial health of the agency's benefits.
as we wind down, as former governor of Maryland, and I'm just curious about, the conversations, if any, you've had with Governor Moore, and, just what you see the landscape looking like as for Marylanders. I mean, as you know, I have a lot of staff members that work in Maryland, and, I know you're on a national sort of campaign here to talk about saving Social Security, but what about what's happening in the state? What would you tell Marylanders and the governor if you've talked to him about what they need to do?
Yeah, I would. I'd be glad to talk to the governor or his staff about any of this. I'm sure as they wrestle with their budget, they're also wrestling with the forecast of a major hit to Maryland's economy that's going to ripple through. Where Social Security is concerned, the second biggest employer in the Baltimore metro area after only Johns Hopkins. You look at the numbers of people that will lose their jobs there, but it's not just them. It's also the contractors. It's the people that do the work that makes it possible for that agency to run. It's the families that then will not have paychecks to pay and, to buy things in the local economy. So
Right.
uh, this is going to be a big hit to this meat cleaver, this chainsaw that's being taken to the federal government is going to have a real big impact on Maryland. And I'd be glad to talk to the governor or his staff about it. I'm sure they're on top of it and have a lot of other people to talk to. There's a rule in Baptist church that once a pastor moves on, there's a no meddling rule. So there's a
I get it.
I've come to understand that there's a similar rule regarding Democratic governors in the state of Maryland.
I got it. I got it. Well, I want to thank you so much, former Governor O'Malley, for being with us today and for really sounding the alarm on Social Security. It's something that we expect, although I have 30-something, almost a 40-year-old son who is basically assuming that, that opportunity won't be available to them.
No, that's what
And
we used to say. That's what I used to say
yeah,
in college, but it's there.
yeah,
I'm 62. I could apply
okay.
now if Elon Musk doesn't kill it. It's going to be there. Tell your son there's no reason except Elon Musk that Social Security shouldn't be there for him.
Well, I'm sure a lot of listeners out there are similarly situated. So I'm glad you said that so that they can tell their sons and daughters the same thing. Thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate, you highlighting this issue and giving us a call to action. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Denise. Great being with you. We'll
All
see you.
righty. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So, you, that is one of the elephants in the room, one of the conversations that people are having on the ground about the future of Social Security and so much more. I mean, people are losing their jobs. And at some point, we really do, or really are trying to understand what this is all about and why. But, we hear it. And I'm glad to hear Martin O'Malley tell us that Social Security will continue to be there, but it's up to the American people to make sure that we let the powers to be, we speak to them to say you're treading on dangerous waters and certain things you have to leave alone. Anyway, having said that, and we're talking about Social Security, but now we're talking about the next generation. We're talking about maternal health, the children that are going to come into the world, who the work we do will help to support them as they grow and mature in this country. So I'm very, very happy to bring on Dr. Ebony January, who's a board certified OBGYN, who's passionate about improving health disparities, women's health, preventative medicine, and youth success. Dr. January, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It is.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I said it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, good. No, it's our pleasure. And I know we're not talking politics, but we certainly do want to create. You're here to try to make sure that we can bring women can have safe deliveries and we can safely bring babies into the world while we're trying to figure out how we can make sure that the world they come into is one that they can live and thrive in. But anyway, let's talk about this Empowered Motherhood Tour that you're hosting in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us a little bit about that and why you're doing this.
Right. So, I'm a board certified OBGYN licensed in 15 states, including the DMV, originally from St. Louis, but the DMV is definitely home to me. I've been there numerous times. I'm there very often. I speak for a Marriott group on culturally competent care, but my plight right now is a maternal health crisis, and not just advocacy, but more so empowerment through education. A lot of women lack education. A lot of significant others and family members lack education and the thing that they need the most, which is health literacy. And oftentimes it's a matter of breaking down the barrier between patients and doctors so that we can make informed decisions as patients. And so that's what the Empowered Motherhood Book Tour is about. My latest book. It's a resource guide for patients, their significant others, the people who love them, so that they can get the most out of their doctor's visits and out of their pregnancy. Because many times these things that are causing maternal casualties are preventable. So I want to make sure that we're able to advocate as women for ourselves, and also significant others are able to advocate for their significant others and women during childbirth. And so that's what this tour is about. It's about my latest book, and it is a resource guide, easy enough for patients to read, but you have to make sure that you're educated enough to understand what the doctor's actually saying to you. So that's what this book is about. And it's for family members also to be informed in the delivery room.
So let me ask you this question, Dr. January, and that is, you know, some women have planned pregnancies, right? They're working on it. You know, their couple, their significant other, they're working on it, and some not necessarily. But in either case, because maternal health and some of the issues impact all women, regardless of, right, more so Black women, but regardless of maybe education or whatever, if there are things that happen negatively, all women are usually impacted, some more so than others. But my question is, regardless of what would be the first 3 questions you would ask, if there are questions that you would ask, you would tell a pregnant woman to ask their physician, that may not become a part of the conversation. They should not leave without making sure that they know what.
So some of the things that people never ask is, what are my risk factors? So first of all, we have to be empowered across the board. So if I'm at risk for preeclampsia, gestational diabetes, postpartum hemorrhage, shoulder dystocia, meaning the baby's shoulder getting stuck, what are my risk factors? And so that means that I have to have a conversation with my doctor to say, this is my history, and based off of my history, these are, as a doctor, I can tell you what the risk factors are. So women need to ask what their risk factors are for complications, whether it's pregnancy complications or labor complications. That's the most important questions. What are my risk factors? And based off of those risk factors, what should I expect? Number one question to ask, because a lot of times patients will hold information back from the doctor, and we need to know those things in order for us to best serve you, so that we can prep you for the pregnancy process, prep you for the labor process, and what to expect. And based off of those, what I'm at risk for, that helps to drive the conversation. So if I am at risk for preeclampsia or postpartum hemorrhage, what should I expect from that? Because sure, pregnancy is pregnancy, but not all pregnancies can be the same based off of the history of a patient, if they're on medications prior to, if they have various comorbidities that could affect their pregnancy. Are they of a healthy weight? Or are they someone who is pretty athletic or exercises? You know, all of these things play a role. So the first question is, what are my risk factors? And from there, that helps to drive the question, the conversation, so that people can ask different questions so that they can set themselves up for success.
And unlike you, because not only are you serving the community, but you've also written a book. So, you know, clearly you're an information provider when it comes to maternal health. What would you advise an expectant mother or father who actually, you know, may attend some of the, because I assume, you know, some walk in together, and they find a doctor who's just not communicating. How do you get past that? You
You,
know, you want to ask those questions that you're talking about, but they're not communicating with you.
if they are not communicating, you have options. You can always go to another doctor, right? We live in the day and age of health, concierge medicine. You can get online. There are many doctors, there are many of us who are online that are able to answer your questions. Obviously, from a medical legal standpoint, we can't give you flat out advice, but we can absolutely point you in the right direction. You know, when you go to my social media page, I'm constantly educating. I tell people, DM me if you have something, a topic that you want to talk about or you want to know more about. Absolutely, you know, send me a message. You have options, telehealth options, you know, social media options, where obviously you don't want to get information from just anyone, but a credible source for sure. And you have people like doulas and midwives who, you know, maybe have a little bit more leeway with regards to time to take to talk to you about various things. But it's okay to switch doctors. You know, it's okay, you know, to seek the help of someone via telehealth as well, but you want to make sure that it is a credible resource, and that will help to drive the conversation. But ultimately, a lot of doctors may be rushed, right, to where they can't answer questions. But if you are coming into a doctor's visit informed, then that basically you start to meet the doctors in the middle, where I'm not explaining something from elementary grade level. I'm explaining it from a middle school level. And so now we can have an informed conversation and an intelligent conversation to where I don't feel as though I have to sit down and take 30 minutes to explain something. When you go and seek information, then you come to the doctor's visit empowered, and therefore we can have a conversation that is informed, and the doctor doesn't feel rushed. You don't feel unheard. So it's also important for, as patients, for us to do the work as well, because I'm not just a doctor, right? I'm a patient first. And so that's why I oftentimes identify with my patients, because I want to know information and I don't want to feel rushed, but at the same time, I'm going to invest in knowledge as well.
Of all the fields of medicine you could have gone into, why did you pick or select maternal OBGYN to become an obstetrician and gynecologist? What was it about this field and to focus on maternal health?
Mm-hmm. A few reasons, actually. My grandmother, my dad's mom, had 14 children.
Okay.
And I watched her body deteriorate, just from, just poor health, poor eating. And at the same time, as I watched her body change, this body who had given life to 14 individuals, I also watched my stepmother as her body changed to give life to my youngest sister. The combination of those two at the same time, it really affected me, and it showed me that the body of the woman is so amazing. And not just that, when I start to study a little bit more and gain information about being an OBGYN, I realized that it was one of those fields where I can be a primary care doctor and manage primary care conditions. I can be a surgeon, not just C-sections, but where we're doing hysterectomies and things of that nature. We can do procedures that are in the office. So it's so fulfilling and so rewarding, because there's so many things that we do. We do primary care, we do surgery, we do small procedures, and we help to bring life. So it was the variety really that affected me, but also watching a body who had given life to so many individuals, to watch it deteriorate, but also to watch my stepmother's body change as she gave life to my youngest sister.
And you brought up something that is concerning also, and that is when you talked about C-sections or deliveries. There's so many options out there, and I don't know if your book gets into this.
Yes.
Doctors will tell you what kind of delivery you're going to have, as opposed to, I assume that sometimes I think this happens, as opposed to saying, asking you, what is your choice? And so talk a little bit about that. I mean, if someone says we have to give you a C-section in order for you to deliver this baby, and that wasn't what you wanted to do.
Sure. So absolutely, my book goes into that. My book goes into prenatal care, pregnancy, postpartum care, mental wellness, the different delivery options, the types of C-sections that are available. But ultimately, I can't speak for every doctor, obviously, but we go through a process. Everyone, for the most part, is eligible for a vaginal delivery unless there's some type of fetal issue that, where we need to expedite delivery. If there is some type of women's health issue where maybe her anatomy doesn't set her up for a vaginal birth, but ultimately we don't just say you're having a C-section. It is a team effort. Right now, if we get into labor and the baby's heart rate doesn't look good and we need to expedite delivery, then that's one of those situations where we're saying, look, it is time for a C-section. You are at risk for numerous things, maybe bad outcomes with regards to, the baby, bad outcomes with regards to you. And so we need to move forward with the C-section. So I don't know many doctors that are just flat out say, you need to have a C-section. Or, or you need to have a vaginal delivery. I'm not doing a C-section, because you do have patients who want a C-section. They don't want to experience vaginal birth. They want a C-section. And so there are people who are at risk for various complications if they were to have a vaginal delivery. And so we talk to them, we go through their risk stratifications, and then we say, okay, I think that this is the best option for you. Talk it over, come back, and we'll make that decision. But many doctors don't just say you're going for a C-section unless it is an emergency situation to where we have to move forward with the C-section. And so we encounter that on a routine basis. I just encountered it last week where I had to do an emergency C-section on someone because her baby's heart rate didn't look good at all, and I needed to move extremely fast. And this is one of those situations where we need the people in the delivery room, the support person, whether it's a significant other, grandmother, or whatever, to deliver that information to the mom, because sometimes it goes in one ear and out the other. But that support system, the person that's not going through the actual process, is thinking a little bit more straight, to where they can translate for us. And this is where doulas, where the benefit
I
of
was going to
doulas,
ask you about that.
this is where and I am pro doula, I'm pro midwife, so I want that
Okay.
to be clear. And so we need an extra set of eyes and ears so that we can deliver our message a little bit more effectively.
I was gonna. You had me laughing when you talk about the significant others, because my father happened to show up in the delivery room with my first son, and he kept telling me to push when the doctors were telling me not to, and I'm like, I can't. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So I don't know if you've had to put people out of the delivery
We
room.
have. Absolutely, absolutely. We have some people who've been a little bit overbearing. We want your help, but sometimes it's a bit much. And so that's where, like I said, you have to, if you are someone, a support person that is going to be in the delivery room, it's okay for you to come to the prenatal visit so that we can prep you and prime you for what
Right.
this will be like. To say, okay, when it's an emergent situation, sometimes we're going to have to move you out of the way, and just allow us to take control, because there are things that we know, and when we're in the moment, it's hard to explain. When it's go time, it is go time, and sometimes it's not the time for us to have to explain things. And so this is where you continue to foster a relationship through the prenatal process, so that when we get to it's game time, you kind of understand, what's going on. And so that's where the information is key, because you're just not going into the labor room blindly. Sometimes we don't want you to push. If the baby's shoulder is getting stuck, we don't want you to push, because
Right.
it keeps lodging the baby's shoulder behind the pubic bone. So we may want you to stop pushing, but these are things that, through my courses and my classes and my master classes, where I'm teaching people about this process, about complications, and what questions to ask and how to behave during certain scenarios.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, what I like is that it sounds as though your book is very thorough
Mhm.
and is a great guide for folks. How can people access it?
It's available on Amazon, Empowered Motherhood. You can also go to my website, drej.com. That's doctor spelled out. You can go to my social media page, Dr. Ebony January. That's doctor spelled out. That's Ebony with an I. A link to purchase my book is there as well. And you can join me in DC for the first stop of my book tour on April 13th at the Busboy and Poets in Anacostia. Really excited. DC is the first stop. New York is the second stop. So, follow along and, meet me wherever, because I'll be
Well,
in a lot of different cities.
we didn't talk about health disparities, and we're kind of out of time, but you're coming to, and I'm sure a community where we have a lot of but we've got a brand new hospital coming,
I
actually a couple days, I think, before the tour. And so that's good news. And we
yeah,
finally, women finally in ward 7 and 8 will be able to deliver babies in the ward, which they haven't been able to do
I'll
in a
be
few years. You'll be there.
I'll be there. I'll be there at the grand opening, and maybe you'll see me in the labor room. We don't know.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations to you, and thank you so very much for producing this book, for being here, for giving an opportunity for people to come and talk to you.
Mhm.
And we're going to help to spread the word to make sure. I'm not sure what Stacy Brown just put in the chat, and I wanted to share that with. Yeah, just did a story about how medical schools are losing Black students. Stacy Brown, who's our national reporter, was talking about. Who writes a lot, but he just posted an article that he did on what's happening with Black medical students. So it's really, really important that you are here and that you are an example too for others who want to go into this field.
Yes, yes, and if students, if you're interested in going into the medical field, they can reach out to me. I do a lot of mentorship. I'm really excited about that. We definitely need culturally competent care, and also, more doctors and support staff that look like us.
Wonderful. Well, Dr. January, thank you so much very much. We're going to put the book up one more time, and also the information that you'll be at Busboys and Poets. Give us that date again.
April 13th,
April
it's
13th.
4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Busboy and Poets in Anacostia.
Right, on Martin Luther King Avenue, right down the street.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Thanks so much for being with us, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
All righty. Take care.
Bye-bye.
So, this is where we want folks to come to get information, and we certainly do hope that you will share that segment of the program with anybody that thinks may need this information. You purchased a book for them, which will be helpful. I know with my firstborn, I read everything, but you have to still live it. But it's good to have resources that you can turn to, and hopefully you'll get down to Busboys and Poets on Martin Luther King Avenue on April the 13th. We're going to now talk to Shelley Williams Franklin. Lachelle Williams Franklin is the CEO of the Williams Franklin Foundation, and get a little bit information from her about what's going on with her right now. How are you doing, Shelley?
I'm doing great. Thank you. So good to meet
Good.
you.
Likewise, likewise. So, tell us a little bit about the Williams Franklin Foundation. What is your mission, and who are you serving?
Yes. So the Williams Franklin Foundation was established in 2014. So we are actually into our 11th year. We celebrated 10 years last year. And our primary mission is to provide scholarships to HBCU students on the undergraduate level. But we're not just a scholarship program. We also provide mentor matching, professional development, and even social development to our students to provide them everything they need to be successful, to not only stay in college, but then to propel them into their professional careers.
That's fantastic. I mean, because now, well, we're in April.
Mhm.
There are a lot of students who are getting ready to, one, graduate from high school, but also are graduating from college. We don't know if the numbers, I haven't checked to see if they're increasing or decreasing with college bound students. And a lot of them, for many of us know, just won't fill out those applications. And so you all end up with lots of money that you can't give away because nobody applied for it. How's that working with the foundation?
Well, the foundation is the exact opposite. We have
Good,
more
good.
applicants. Yeah, we have more applicants than we have the funds to support. We are actually in our application season now, which closes April 15th. And typically, we have anywhere from 150 to 300 applications a year. And right now, we're on a trajectory to be probably upwards of 500 scholarships or scholarship applications for 20 to 25 slots. Our scholarships are $5,000 each. They're renewable every year, again, until they graduate on the undergraduate level. It's offered to students at any HBCU in the country, which we know most of the HBCUs are in the southern region of the country, and they can also reside in anywhere in the country.
And does it matter what they are using the $5,000 for? Is it
So
tuition? Is it books? Is it housing? What's the criteria?
So the criteria is the funds must go towards their academic experience. So,
Yeah.
for students that we serve, and we serve students that have financial need, have some type of financial barrier. So as a result, we recognize that part of it is definitely issues with tuition, but it also could be housing. It also could be purchasing a good suit or dress for interviewing purposes. So as long as the funds are used in the furtherance of their education, then it's approved by us.
Quick question. The Williams Franklin Foundation. I know you're Williams Franklin, but is it your personal foundation? Tell us a little bit of background about the foundation itself.
Yeah, so the foundation is a public charitable organization. It's a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. And it was established by my husband and I. We are the co-founders. We both went to Howard University, or graduates of Howard University. And we are supported by a fabulous board of directors, about 10 members. And we've been doing this work, religiously, where now we've afforded about 150 students and counting these renewable scholarships every year. And again, the students have to prove financial need. They have to already be enrolled at an HBCU. So we're looking at students who are currently enrolled, at least as a freshman at an undergraduate school, and then we support them through their undergraduate journey.
So how does the foundation raise its money?
We raise our money. Good question. We raise our money through corporate sponsorship, grants, and individual donors. We have about 2 to 3 fundraising events a year to support those efforts. And in addition to that, just the kindness of people's hearts.
That's good. I mean, we can't uh, have enough events and resources for young people to get the money that they need to these constantly growing or escalating costs of college. And so, tell us. I guess one of your events is coming up. Fundraising events is this Sipping for Success, the high tea with ladies of Williams Franklin Foundation. Talk about that.
Yes, yes. We're so excited. On April 12th at Fairmont Hotel, we'll be hosting our second annual Sipping for Success High Tea with the Ladies of the Williams Franklin Foundation. This is a fundraising event to raise enough funds to fund 3 academic scholarships. And this event is attended by women in the area who are change makers, innovators, and just have an open and giving heart to support our students. Again, our students typically have an average family contribution of less than $5,000. We have at least 4 of our current students who have a family contribution of below zero. So these are students who have the brilliance to succeed academically, but they have the barrier of having the funds to support their education. And so our goal is really to rectify that through having these events like the tea. And then after that, we have a golf tournament, which will be our 5th annual golf tournament on June 16th to do the same thing.
Nice. Okay. And so I assume that the tea and the golf tournaments have been pretty successful over the years to help to raise the money that you need to give to the students.
They have been, along with we have grant partners as well who've also helped to fund several of our scholarships. And we also just have great corporate sponsors that we partner with as well. So a combination of all 3 are what really help to fund the scholarships as well as our programming.
So if there was someone, first of all, who was interested in contributing to the foundation, how would they reach out to you?
So there are a few different ways. We are on social media at WFF Scholarship, but we can also be reached by email at info@wmsfranklinfoundation.org. And we also can be found on our website at www.wmsfranklinfoundation.org.
And for students who are interested in applying for a scholarship, where would they go?
They can also go to our website as well as our
Okay.
social media, where they will find a link that will take them directly to our application. And so, again, that's at wmsfranklinfoundation.org. They can find us on our website as well as on social media. I'll say Instagram, particularly for young people, which is at WFF Scholarship.
And what kinds of things do you ask for on the application for the students? Because, sometimes parents end up filling them out. Sometimes students have to do it all themselves. They don't have the parental support. So, what kinds of things do you ask for?
In addition to completing an application, students will also have to submit a written essay, 2 letters of recommendation, a copy of their transcript, as well as their student aid index form. And then that's the first part of the process. Then once our selection committee, which is an independent body, reviews, scores, and ranks them all, then the final student will then go before our board of directors for an interview. And then from there, we make our selection. And then we begin our programming year, which we find is very important because these are the support services that our students need to not only, the scholarship is one piece, but again, we also provide what we call like these wraparound services, as most of our students are still first generation students in college and or just need the support. So we host several webinars throughout the year that
Mm.
range from mental health to personal and professional branding, financial wealth building, even on interviewing and resume technique skills. And so we do all these things to support the students so that, they are well equipped and prepared to not only financially support their education, but then to thrive through school and then beyond. And, we really see our scholarship as more than just a $5,000 scholarship. It's really a $15,000 to $20,000 investment we're making per student, because this is a renewable scholarship every year. And when you think about how much we're saving them on the front end versus them having to take a loan out on the back end, it really saves them at least $60,000 in the long run. So it's worth the investment.
So, before I let you go, I want you to, I know in 10 years, you probably have a couple of students or a student that really exemplifies what the Williams Franklin Foundation was set up to do. And I don't mind if you shout that student out.
We have several. I have to say, it's so hard to choose, but one of our very first awardee, her name is Amber Quinney. She attended Howard University. Is one. We have Victor is another, he graduated and went on to Harvard Law School. Harvard Medical School, and is now an anesthesiologist.
Wow.
We have Janae Austin, who is now a practicing attorney in the DC area. We have Derek Webb, who's graduating from Brown University in a graduate school program. We have so many I could name of great success stories that have come out of the Williams Franklin Foundation.
Well, that is fantastic, and that's one way of recycling donors to make sure that they are successful and move on and can kind of give back to those that helped them along the way. That is fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. And one other thing is, if there was one thing that you could point to that you found has been the most challenging for students, once they get the scholarship and go on to college, which is probably why you did the wraparound services, resources. But what do you think of this, or is probably one of the most challenging things students are facing today, besides student loans?
Well, student loans has definitely been a big barrier. And I would also say another barrier has been once they not only have the finances, but then again, because many of our students are first generation, they need other services in terms of mentor matching, which is something that we've put in place so that the students can not only see someone that looks like them that's in the field that they hope to go into, but that can walk them through the steps of actually getting there. And there are many other services that students need in terms of help with, again, interviewing. They may need help with housing at times, particularly with internships, to make sure that they're really experiencing a full internship in the summer that really adds to their resume and academic experience.
Wonderful. Well, we've been talking to Lachelle Shelley Williams Franklin, the CEO of Williams Franklin Foundation. I want to thank you so very much for being with us today, for sharing this information. Students have until April what's the
15th.
deadline? April 15th, yeah, to get those applications in. So anybody that's watching, make sure you reach out. At least you've got $5,000 you can count on to put towards that college education bill that you will definitely get and have to pay for. So it's good that you're here, that you have the foundation, and that you are supporting young people in our community. We appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you so much for your time.
All righty. Have a good one.
You too.
Okay. So, folks, wow, we've talked a lot, and that wraps up another enlightening episode of Let's Talk. We've had a lot, we hope, inspiring conversations that are also call to actions, things that you can do to help young people, to restore Social Security, to make sure that we are our community delivering, supporting our mothers and delivering healthy babies, all of that. So we just want to make sure that you all enjoying the program. I'm getting like this. I don't know what that means. People are doing this to me.
No more.
Okay. All right. So having said that, we thought we were going to go into another segment of the program, and I was going to tell you, don't go away, but we just want you to watch what comes at the end of this program. And then after that, I just say to you, thank you so much for being with us. We look forward to seeing you next week, 12 to 1. Have a great weekend, and we will see you.
They're here now.
Oh, okay, folks. It's a lot going on behind the behind the scene here. But anyway, I am still signing off. And Jada, Eagleton will be back with you in a few minutes with War and Treaty. Please stay and listen to that interview. I know it's going to be fantastic. I've watched these two individuals' uh, interviews, commercials, what have you. I'm so honored that they took time out to talk to us here at the Washington Informer. So I'm going to sign off. And in a few minutes, you'll see Jada Ingleton with War and Treaty. Don't go away. Jada,
Noon. Hi, Miss Denise.
how are you? I didn't know I was coming back. I thought I was done. But how are you?
I could tell by the way the headphones were off. You were signed off officially.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. And just letting folks know those are some of the highlights from our 60th anniversary last Friday. We had a lot of fun, and folks were not there, so you got a taste of that. But I'm excited about the interview you have coming up.
I am too. It's actually my introduction into word and treaty personally. And I've, doing my deep dive of research. It's very interesting, the way they've been able to blend different sounds, which of course we're going to get into eventually. But just learning about, how they kind of are really trailblazing in different ways and trying to change the conversation when it comes to music.
Well, not only that, I know, I don't know if you've seen the commercials, but they're talking about health as well, and so I love that you have entertainers with a cause, and that cause is very important. Are they there? Oh, okay. I wanted to get out the way if they were waiting for us to finish. So yeah,
Oh, actually, I did not see those commercials though. So
yeah.
that's another part of the conversation for today for sure.
Right. That and some other interviews I've seen, with them, just talking about health and maintenance of health, and so it's really good. Yeah. So
Yeah, there's the exact the behind the scenes production side of what.
exactly. So while we're waiting, I mean, as a no, oh, there's there. Okay. All right. She was telling me to talk about, but now she said, don't talk about, but talk about, don't talk about. So I'm going to get out the way. I look forward to hearing your interview. Thank you again. I'm so happy that they're going to be with us. And so take it away.
Thank you, Miss Denise. And thank you to everyone watching. I'm Jade Angleton, as has been introduced. Joining me now, yes, hello. We have Michael of War and Treaty with us. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing. How are you doing?
Happy you made it. I mean, I'm happy to be here.
I don't know where Tanya is. I mean, she's trying her hardest to get on. I think I'm gonna have to go back on the bus and and get her on with us because I'm here. I'm out here. You know,
Oh, well,
but
if she's
I'm
in
happy to be here.
yes, of course. And thank you for taking time. I know you guys are quite literally on the road right now. So we're also seeing some live action going on your end too.
Yes, yes. We're on the bus. I'm on my bus now, but I am definitely outside of the venue that we're performing at tonight, and I am walking back here to my beautiful wife Tanya.
Awesome. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
How has the tour been so far?
it's been great. The tour's been awesome, and we just been working very hard, and the fans have been just loving the shows, and it's just been really, really amazing. And look, hello,
With that,
hi.
hello, Tanya. How are you?
I
Thank you for
can't hear
joining.
you.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, because he has
I'm
headphones in.
sorry. Hello, I can hear
Hi,
you now. How are
I'm
you?
Gina. How are you? Welcome to Let's Talk.
Oh, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with us.
Oh no, we can't thank you enough. Like I was, our audience can see you guys are literally in the middle of doing the tour on the road and such. So we're very thankful that you made time for this.
Thank you. We're on a tour bus, so Wi-Fi is a little sketchy out here in Amagansett, New York.
So we'll kind of pummel through. And speaking of the tour, that really is my first question. I know that you both have roots in DC, so I know next weekend, on April 11th, you'll be here in Washington DC at the Howard Theater. What does that mean for you guys? Coming home back to DC for this show?
Well, I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. I moved to PG County when I was about 8 years old. And it's a lot of memories there for me in Washington, D.C. It's where I was rooted. It's where I learned everything about music, everything about God. I learned there at a little church on 50th and B Street Southeast in Washington, D.C. So it means so much to be able to come home, bring the spirit of what we're doing there, and to bring the gospel country rock and roll sounds back home. Everything I learned is inspired and comes from DC.
Excellent. And just, in general, well, go ahead, Michael, please. Would you like to add to that?
Oh, Tanya said it all. I mean, my roots are strong in DC as well.
Mhm.
Tanya and I, we battle often about who has more roots in DC. We always talking about it. But I went to Shaw Junior High School, marching band, Uncle Ben's, like DC, the Anacostia tracks. I mean, like my memories are strong and my roots are strong in Washington DC as well. So I'm very in fact, in 1996. I won my first competition, singing competition called the Future Fest that the Mayor Barry put on, and that was a life changing experience. So very excited to be able to come home with DC Songbird, Miss Tanya, and be able to offer something different that we have, and we do have something different. Yeah, and then I wanted to just interject that actually my first job was right on H Street. They had a thing called street theater that Mayor Marion Barry at the time, he would do for young people who were interested in being in the arts. And they would put a stage in the middle of H Street. I'm sorry, Georgia Avenue. They would put a stage in the middle of Georgia Avenue, and people would come to watch our performances during the day. And Mike Malone, God rest his soul, he was the director for that. And so you had all these youth from all over DC coming together and performing right there on Georgia Avenue. So it's just fitting that right off of Georgia Avenue is the incredible Howard Theater, and we'll be coming back to that.
The full circle moment.
Yeah,
That's
it's
amazing.
my first job. A full circle. Yeah. I have one more little nugget that I'm very shocked that Tanya will give you all of this history and miss the fact that when the Howard Theater reopened, Tanya was one of the actual artists they asked to come perform for the grand opening. It
Oh, what
was
an honor.
Tanya, it was Smokey Robinson, it was the late George Duke, Dionne Warwick was there, Barry Gordy. Little Jimmy, Barry Gordy. I mean,
So to me, that trumps everything because we're coming back. I was sitting in the audience. We weren't the war and treaty then. I was holding our baby. I was just this very supportive, excited husband, and was so bored trying to get all those artists off stage so that my baby could walk across that stage with that sexy dress, that black, sexy one strap dress with all that body, yaddy, 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 walking across the stage with that hair and that sleek silhouette. I was like, oh, this is the best DC has to offer right here, baby. Return of the Sparrow.
Well, it doesn't trump it. It does add to it because it all started on George Avenue with that when I was 13.
That was Warner Howard.
So thank you, baby, for all that energy right now.
Right, your biggest fan sitting in the room with you right now.
Right in the room. Look at him.
That's awesome. I do love that energy for sure. And that brings me, to the point of one thing you mentioned, Tanya, is, and well, both of you mentioned you are bringing something new, something different with this album, with this show to Howard Theater. And I want to talk about specifically with Plus One, how does that the newness of what you're doing, the new sounds and blends that you're creating specifically with this album speak to the foundation of your duo?
Oh, it definitely speaks to it. Whenever we approach music, whether it's gospel, country, folk, uh, Americana, rock and roll, whatever it is, the foundation is gospel music, and that's where we're rooted, and that's where we come from. So this record is just us doing what we love to do and adding our gospel sounds on top of it. We stretched out a little bit by writing with songwriters. Michael is usually the producer and of all the records, and I come in and do whatever co-producing I can on some stuff. But this record, we actually opened ourselves up to work with other writers, writers that are very, famous and have sold a lot of records in country music, like Miranda Lambert, and producers like Jesse Frazier and Jonathan Singleton. Most people might know him from Luke Combs, and Jesse Frazier has done everybody in country music. So we opened ourselves up to working with more of I wouldn't say commercial, but just to use that word because it's a word that people understand probably a little bit more, working with commercial sounding country. And we just kept it authentic and stayed ourselves in this record and used it as an invitation to our fans as well as to Nashville to join in on what we're doing with our gospel country sound. We bring who we are. We don't change who we are. And this is an invitation to allow people to come into who we are.
Yes, I will say this to sum it all up. When Black people create, we innovate. That's the truth. So I want people to come to our concert to learn something, to learn the return, to learn what we started, to learn all the styles that you hear. Every genre that is birthed was birthed out of the gut and the heart and the soul and the mind of our people. We need to understand that, and that's why we must support each other.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on something with the topic of what, this album, and not even just this album, but what War and Treaty is bringing to the country music genre and to country radio. I know I read a feature with the Rolling Stone where you said, some of the songs on this album are dedicated to country radio and to Nashville. So, but what is that element and sort of what you guys are bringing to the table that they can take from you? Can we explore a little bit on that? What does that mean to you, and what are some of those things?
Well, I think the first thing is the guts of the vocals. Tanya and I, we don't shy away from giving it our all vocally. I think that the raw power, the synergy between two people, the love in our vocals is a powerful thing. The second thing is the raw, real emotion of a live instrumentation. If you listen to a song like Reminisce, you start to understand the beauty of live instruments that we're tending to shy away from with this kind of pseudo electronic world we're living in. But the reality of the situation is we're raw. We're a raw band. It don't get no rawer than me and Tanya in the War and Treaty. So that's something. And also in country music radio specifically, um, we want to get a different perspective. You know, in country music radio, 90% of the love interest is blonde hair, blue eyes. Well, in our music, we're going to talk about brown eyes or hazel eyes. We're going to bring some of our barbecue experiences to the table, to the forefront. Some of those things that's been whitewashed out of country music, we're going to bring it back. We're going to remind folks about the farming and how, we were making up our songs in the fields back then, and that was country. We just want to remind America and abroad that there is a beautiful perspective waiting to take place again. So that's really what we bring.
Awesome. I didn't know if you had anything to add, Tanya.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think with our music, when people say, what are you bringing to country music? We're a bridge. We blend genres, but we don't just blend genres. We bring people together. We blend hearts. We blend people's choices. If you want to vote Democrat and Republican, whatever the case may be, that's great. If you're Black and you're white, that's great. But the one thing that the Warren Treaty is we are bridge builders, and we have been able to do that with the last 10 years of our music. And for those that don't want to fall suit to what we do, then they don't follow us. But those that do, we found that there are more people that really want to come together and really want to just love music, and they come to a show and they're like, oh wow, this is a ride. I'm going on a ride, I'm listening to gospel, and how did you put that banjo in the middle of a gospel song? So I think people want an experience. And so what we give to Nashville is, one is an experience. Two, we give them the bridge. If you want to listen to, what if D'Angelo did a song with George Jones, or Dolly Parton did a song with Aretha Franklin? What would that sound like? Or what if Ashford and Simpson did a duet with Dottie West and Kenny Rogers? All four of them on the stage. How would that feel? What would that look like? And I think it's really getting to a point where we're giving people thoughts. What would that look like? They've never seen it before. It's never been done before. People compare us a lot to Ike and Tina Turner, but Ike was a genius in his own right, but he was not a singer like Michael, and he didn't play piano. And so
He played piano.
well, he didn't play it on stage. He was mostly known for guitar.
No,
he played on stage. Well, he wasn't a singer so much, and so we're giving them a different experience. And
he was a genius.
Yeah, he was a genius, and it's regardless of people's opinions about him musically, it was there. So we're just giving people alternatives to things that they may not see every day in mainstream music. That's what we do.
Excellent. And my last question is, what is something, that you all have been able to take away throughout the process of building and producing Plus One that you hope to apply to your future projects?
Have fun.
Yeah.
That's it.
I would say that. Have fun and don't change.
Have fun.
Stay authentic.
Have fun. Change not.
Yeah.
Excellent. You guys are right on the same page, one in tune with the other.
Yep. 1 and 2. We're bumping hats here.
Well, we love the energy. We love the energy, not just in the music, but being able to talk to you guys. You can see the love and the passion that is obviously heard through your songs as well. So we're very grateful to, visit the Warren Treaty live in action. Where can people start continuing to support? Where can we get tickets for April 11th? Where can we listen to the next album?
Yes. www.thewarandtreaty.com. You can go there. We want everybody to go there. Just go there and hub up and find all things. Yeah. And thank you for talking to us. You are so beautiful. Yes. You are such a light. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was great meeting you all. Have a great day. Enjoy and be safe on your tour, please.
Thank you later. So much. Hopefully we'll see you at the show.
Bye.
Well, that was a great ending, if I do say so myself. For everyone that's still with us, thank you for staying with us and joining that amazing conversation. Just in general, please stay warm. The weather is doing what it's doing, so keep checking the app and look forward to not only the Warren Treaty, but other upcoming events in the DMV that I might catch you at. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.